The Battle of Gettysburg lasted 3 days, and it was a tactical plan made by General Lee. He thought that he could take the Confederate Army up to the town of Gettysburg and conquer it so he could get the shoes from the shoe factories there. Well, unfortunately, the Union soldiers toasted them. After the battle, President Abraham Lincoln at the time gave a short speech called the Gettysburg Address. This is a very famous speech, and it was also a very short speech. You might have actually heard it before.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who have here gave their lives that the nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggle here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to dedicate here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, that the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Slaves was the whole reason this war started. See, the South of the United States at the time had lots of slaves because they had big plantations where they would grow cotton, tobacco, corn, really big crops, and could grow rich off that. And these plantations took a lot of people to run. So the South would get slaves because it was really cheap labor because it was free. And they would do it every day. They would stay there. They only had to provide a small amount of land and a small amount of food for them. There were two types of slaves. There was the field slaves, and they would they would wake up with the sun, and they would start picking the crops. They would pull the seeds out of cotton and do things like that. And there are also house slaves. These slaves would wake up before the sun so they could start making food for the whole house. And it didn't matter if there were people visiting that didn't belong to the house. They had to make breakfast for them too. Later on in the day, they would do laundry, they would do the dishes, they would do all the house chores for the big plantation owners. So it was really rough being a slave. You could be taken away from your family, never to see them again. We're going to talk about Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was a former slave who escaped her masters. Not only did she escape her masters, which was a very hard thing to do for the slaves, because if they tried and got caught trying to escape, then they'd get whipped, or worse. So not many tried it. But she was brave enough and she tried to escape, and she did. And not only did she escape, she also helped many other slaves escape their masters. We've prepared a short video of a parody of a song that you may know to show what it may have been like for a slave to escape.
Riley's Let Me Go. The people are white on the mountain tonight, not a slave to be seen. A land of persecution, and it looks like I'm not free. The wind is howling, but I'm not allowed inside. Couldn't get away, heaven knows I tried. won't let us and hope they don't see, 'cause I'm not the good slave I used to be. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know. Well, oops, they know. Let me go, let me go. Can't hold it back anymore. Let me go, let me go. Don't whip me anymore. I don't care that I'm a slave. Let the chase go on. The whites always bother me every day.